Hey, everybody, welcome to a live edition of the Rising Tide Leadership Podcast, Identity and Influence. This is the weekly leadership roundup where I talk with one of my good buddies about stuff that's happened this week. And of course, it's Christmas week. And so there's a lot that's been going on. There's a lot of leadership talking points. So before we start, I want to welcome to the show Dr. Lem Usita. What's up, man? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Good to be with you. Always enjoy my time with you talking about leadership and identity and just things that are happening. So thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, brother. So just to give the audience, for those of you who you might be listening to this on a recording, but we are in Christmas week at the end of 2025, and I always look for a story or two, sometimes three, that I like, and then I send them to Dr. Lem, and he tells me which ones he does or doesn't like. And usually he just says, "Yeah, I'll talk about whatever." That's why I like having him on. But the there was an article that came out in the New York Post this week, and it says King Charles urges, quote, digital detox, close quote, calls for reconciliation after a year filled with royal drama in a Christmas speech. So I thought that was an intriguing title. I think the New York Post nailed it. I read the article, I liked it, so I sent it to you. So
Mhm.
you're the digital detox guy. In fact, so you guys got to know Dr. Lem has been detoxing before digital detox was cool. So like, I gosh, what 25 years ago, I remember you used to go. I think it was at least once a year, sometimes more. And we both lived in California at the time. You still do live in California, but you had a couple of places that you liked to go, usually up in the mountains, and you would just unplug and you'd be like, hey, if you need to get a hold of me, back in the day, it was like, I'm not going to have my pager. Then it was, I'm not going to have my cell phone. And
Yeah.
now it's, I'm not going to have my computer or anything like that. So, what are your, first of all, Dr. Lem, why don't you tell our audience what is a digital detox based on this article specifically, and and what are your thoughts on it, and why is that important?
Yeah, man, this is such a good topic. I love this topic. My dissertation research was identity and more specifically the self and things happening in self. And the dissertation topic had to do with adolescent identity formation in online space and how we project our identities online. But like, what does that do to our real world self? And and I just was wondering what the connection was when we do so much on social media. Like, what does that do with the real world stuff? And what it does is it kind of disconnects us. I mean, we're connected socially on social media, but it disconnects us from life. It disconnects us from like real people because it's all just digital, so kind of digital social, digitally mediated social interaction. And then what it does is disconnects us from ourselves. And so what I think King Charles is talking about here, first of all, there's a lot of drama in his family over social media and things going on digitally. And I mean, every family has their stuff. And and when your family is just super public, like theirs is, everybody gets involved in their stuff. And he just was like, let's disconnect from some of this digital stuff and let's just have some real connections with each other and with ourselves. And it seemed like part of the article was talking about how they wanted to just kind of avoid some drama, period, just to spend time with family and be with each other for Christmas because their family kind of just taken it and gotten in well, not heat or trouble, but like anytime you put family drama out on social media and everybody gets to see, it can be embarrassing and it can be hard, like on relationships. And there's something though about the digital constant interaction that disconnects us with ourselves. And that's what I love about the digital detox. Like we need to just unplug sometimes and just spend time in our thoughts, spend time being bored, spend time with our family and with ourselves. Like, it was really fun to be with family like this week for Christmas. And Not too many people had their phones out. We would take our phones out for photos and that kind of thing, but it wasn't like we were we were on our phones constantly. Like we played board games, you know what I mean? And we had food and we hung out with the kids, and there's just something about not being connected that really connects us with ourselves and with other people in relationships. How did it speak to you when you read the article?
I liked it. It really stood out to me right away. And King Charles talks about step back. There's always going to be this relentless digital noise, and just reconnect with your community and your loved ones. And what I loved is that this problem, this digital noise that we have, it doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor or somewhere in between. It doesn't matter if you're a king or a princess, or you're a working Joe like me and you. It's it's something that we all have to deal with. And same thing. I remember, back in the old days, right? Um, we didn't have cell phones. We had to make up our own fun. And I love seeing all of those old. Now there's like social media posts and stuff where Gen Z will ask a question and Gen X will answer it, and one of them is what did you guys used to do? If you didn't have your phones, were you bored? And it was like, no, we got kicked out of the house, and our parents told us to leave and go get in some trouble and have some fun and whatever. And so, but now we're tethered to our phones, and so I love Christmas because it seems like a lot of people that I've been talking to did exactly what you did. We did the same thing. You put your phone down and you just try to forget about it. You play a board game or a card game or something like that. You open presents. A lot of people have those kind of um, things that they go through, and traditions and whatever. And most of those predate having cell phones. So I think that kind of like pushes some. Of course, you take pictures and things like that, but I really liked it because King Charles here was saying, "Man, I, I got to get this digital noise out of our family." And I thought, man, I can relate with that. And
Yeah,
I'm not royalty, but
right.
he has the same frustrations that any of us would. And so let me ask you this: we're all about leadership and identity here, and I want to talk about a leadership angle and really just amplify that. And I
Okay.
want to really talk about emotional intelligence and leadership. What
Mm,
what King Charles used, as a cultural moment when he got out and told people, "Hey, let's do this together." It was modeling vulnerability, and I really like that because
mhm.
he was reflecting on the pace of life, and he was tapping into the collective well-being. I don't think there
Yeah,
was a person out there that couldn't relate with what King Charles said, and I thought that was great. And I thought
yeah.
that whether it was him just wanting to do it spontaneously, or if it was one of his million staffers that said, "Hey, sir, you got to do this," it still hit home.
Yeah, man. I He pre-recorded this talk and it got played like at Christmas, and so it was planned. It was really planned, and it was intentional, and I love the intentionality about it. And it's like you said, like it's a message that we all could heed. We need to heed. And it doesn't matter whether you're royalty or you're normal or a peasant, even it doesn't matter. Like if you're on that digital uh, device, if you're just constantly connected, that's the thing that it does. It allows us to be constantly connected. And if you're constantly connected on the thing, then you're disconnected from yourself. You're disconnected from your relationships and your people, and like even intimacy is kind of a uh, you kind of lose out on some intimate moments because like you're distracted digitally and you're distracted by your phone, and you don't enter in deeply into relationships or even in conversations. I mean, like I could probably use more digital detox in my life for sure, just to spend time with my family and with my wife and my kid. And don't get me wrong, like we work and we're online and we're even doing this online. to connect. And there are definitely benefits to doing that, like doing it, having it on constantly really just kind of disconnects us. And like you were saying, like when you're so disconnected from yourself that you are emotionally you're emotionally disconnected as well. You know what I mean? And then in leadership and in relationships, like man, if you're just disconnected from yourself, it's really hard to be yourself in leadership. It's really hard to show up as your true self because that digital uh disconnect really disconnects you from everything else. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and I think really, you said it was pre-recorded, it was planned. Um, Whatever brought it about, I'm glad that he decided to do it. But the holiday timing, it matters
Yeah,
because around Christmas time, this message is going to resonate with people because this is a time where people really look a little bit more on rest, reflection,
mm,
self
mhm,
care. And those are really powerful cues for leaders. And so, my question
yeah,
for our YouTube audience, people watching on Facebook or wherever, is what are you doing to promote rest in your company, to your team? What are you doing to promote reflection? And what are you doing to promote self care? We talk a lot about journaling. In fact, I was journaling today, and I journal every day. But I remember as I was um, journaling in preparation for this live episode, I just took a little bit more time to reflect and rest, and it was a cue to me to say, Mo, just slow down. And so,
yeah.
leaders, how are you promoting these things on your team? Are you so worried about the bottom line? Because at the end of the year, it's the end of the year, it's the end of the quarter, it's the end of the fiscal for a lot of people. And you're just like, man, Christmas and New Year's falls in the middle of the week. And so it screws everything up. And none of my people want to do anything, whatever. What are you doing to help your team to be the best that they can right now?
Yeah. Man, you highlight something really important. It's not just enough to take a digital detox and not be on your phone and not be doing anything digitally. You gotta fill that empty space with something. You gotta be intentional about doing something, or you're just gonna get back on your phone. So whether you're journaling or talking to people in relationships, just hanging out or creating something. My sister-in-law this weekend, she found time, like it was like a little arts and crafts thing, like, but she didn't have her phone. The kids were around. She was creating something with she was using her hands, creating, I don't even know what she was creating, but it's some kind of arts and crafts thing. She also had like this book of puzzles, and so we had like a Sudoku challenge, you know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
all all the adults got on it, and we timed ourselves, and like it was a competition. It wasn't like for a prize or anything. It was just for like, well, I did it in, you know, these many seconds and these many minutes and stuff. But like it was really fun to like compete with each other in that way. And then like again, like board games. Like man, we played board games for a couple of hours last night, and it was really fun. I won 2 out of the 3. Thank you very much. I guess maybe that's why I had fun because I won. You know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
either
Winning's
way,
fun.
like it was still fun to hang out and like just not be on our phones. You're talking while you're hanging out. You're making each other laugh, and you're like teasing. It was just a good time, man. You gotta fill that empty space in the digital detox space with something, or you're just gonna get back on your phone. Yeah. So that's a good word, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, little tangent here before I get to my closing point. But did you see the Chevy commercial this year about the family that is like in an old suburban with like a bench seat,
Okay.
and it's about these parents, and they're getting ready to go to see either his parents or her parents, and they start reminiscing, and they're still in the same old Chevy that they
Yeah.
had back in 1992,
Yeah.
and they're talking about all the things that happen, and as they're
Yeah.
driving through the countryside, they're pointing at things and saying, remember that.
Hmm.
And it made me think about, we used to drive across country, and
Hmm.
this was in the 80s and 90s, from
Yeah.
California all the way to Alabama, roll tide to go
Yeah.
see my my
Yeah.
my, my family. but we didn't have cell phones back then. We literally had to like stare out the window,
Yeah.
or it was me and my brother. So we had to come up with things to do, and we had
Yeah.
little workbooks, and we had to come up with our own games, slug bug, things like that. Kids, if you don't know what slug bug is, you gotta go look it up. But all that stuff, and it was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. And it again, that commercial, that's why Chevy hit the nail on the head. It really made me reminisce of, man, just to be together for hours and days on end. And now families, I mean, what you guys have a growing family and have a little one. Like, what do you do on trips? do, do,
Yeah.
does your kid have an iPad? Like what? I mean,
Yeah.
what do you do? I mean, there's a lot more to do now on the road.
Yeah, no, he doesn't have an iPad. He's really not allowed on screens unless he's like, we're FaceTiming my parents, or I mean, he doesn't have a screen, but he loves to play. Like, we're playing with toys. And interestingly enough, on the way home from grandmama's house, he's like looking out the window. He saw a crane truck at the gas station that we didn't see, but he told us all about it. And he's looking out the window. So like like we'll see how long this lasts. But for right now, he's busy playing and enjoying himself, and
Yeah.
like he's not on a device. Like, it's crazy though to like see like parents like at a restaurant. And yes, there is judgment, I guess, because I'm saying it, where they're sitting, everyone's like looking at a phone, kids are on an iPad. Like, I mean, it is what it is, and like, it's available to you, but like, like, yeah, we talk with this kid and he interacts with us, and I mean, it's pretty fun. Like, we have a no phone on the table where, so when we're eating, you can't have a phone on the table. Like, and now the 2.5-year-old is like, no phone on the table.
Dude, he's got you, man.
So yeah,
Awesome.
man, like, we're gonna train him up and hopefully we can stick to it, and like, yeah. But yeah, man, he doesn't get on the phone or iPad. No such thing for him.
Yeah, I wanted to hit one more leadership principle that I got out of this from King Charles, and this is what it is: that thinking about reconciliation as strategic
Yeah,
leadership. What
yeah,
do I mean by that? He's pushing for healing and unity instead
yeah,
of division, which
yeah,
could be very easy. And as you get older, sometimes those things are more important to you. And I'm really hoping, and I'm praying for him and his family, that they find that reconnection. Because if you read that
yeah,
article, and I think people should go read it, there's some disconnect in the family. And he recently had a conversation with his son, and it was, it lasted less than an hour, and there's already, stuff around that,
drama, yeah,
was it sabotaged, and did King Charles's staff, want to do this intentionally to Harry to make them even more distant? And what I see, and again, I'm just reading. I don't know anything about the royal family, but what I got from King Charles was that, man, I want to bring some reconciliation, and I really liked that. And
yeah.
so, my question to you, Dr. Lem, and to our listeners is, how are you practicing reconciliation as strategic leadership here at the end of the year?
Yeah. It I love that you highlight that point, like in leadership, like there really is a huge need for humility. Not 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 just for helping others out, but also for being open to hearing about yourself. You know what I mean? Like, if you're humble enough to take instruction and to hear like that constructive criticism, either from a mentor or a peer or a coach, like, it takes some humility to get better. And so, yeah, man, like, I was in a meeting this week, and I had a coach, and he was like, "Yeah, you should dress up to meetings, man. Like, you should look a little bit more professional." And like, if you don't have that humility to hear instruction like that and direction like that, then you're gonna miss out on getting better. And so, yeah, humility is a big part of leadership, even if you are the king. And I like that you said you're gonna pray for him and his family, because yeah, they definitely need that, you know. So man, yeah, that's a great point. Humility is definitely a
Yeah.
big part of leadership. It helps us to just be better.
Yeah, well, I have a final thought, and I'd love to give you the last word. But here's a message to leaders here at the end of the year, and we're going to do hopefully one more of these centered on what it's going to look like moving into 2026. But before we do that, leaders, remember this: effective leaders use symbolic moments like holidays, as we see in this article, to reinforce values and to strengthen relational bonds. Are you doing that? Christmas just isn't about cheer. It's an opportunity, and holidays like this where we see families, family members that we usually don't. But it's an opportunity to emphasize what matters most in leadership. And so my question is, leaders, what matters most to you in leadership? Dr. Lem will give you the last word.
Man, the last word is you lead out of who you are. We keep saying that. We keep bringing it up when appropriate, and it seems to come up in every episode. But you lead out of who you are, and if you are not connected to who you are, then uh, you're gonna lead out of someone that you're not. You're gonna lead out of somebody else's expectations, and it's not gonna be authentic leadership. And so, spend the time, disconnect, detox from some digital stuff, get connected with who you are, and then just lead out of who you are. Be authentic and real.
I love it, brother. We're going to leave it there. Thanks for joining us today on
Yes,
the Rising
sir.
Tide Leadership Podcast, Identity and Influence. Dr. Lem, good as always. Got some stuff coming down the pike. And leaders, we're just excited for you to be on this journey, and we're excited to be on your journey with you. So leave a comment, leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you here next week. Doc, thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Take care.